In a small village in South Africa, there lived a young woman named Nambu. She was 8 months pregnant, and excited for the arrival of her first child. On a cold night, Nambu suffered serious health complications and died suddenly, causing great shock and grief to her family and the villagers. The burial ceremony took place quickly, according to village traditions, and Nambu was buried in the family cemetery. Everyone thought this was the tragic end to the story of Nambothu and her unborn child. The funeral prayer was held and was attended by all the village members, who could not believe that Nambu's life had ended in such a sudden way. Several days later, the cemetery guard was making his usual round when he noticed an unusual movement near Nambothu's grave. At first, he thought the animal might have dug near the grave, but as he got closer, he heard a faint sound that sounded like a baby crying. He couldn't believe what he was hearing, so he ran to the village and told everyone what happened. The village men gathered cautiously and decided to open the grave to investigate the matter. Upon opening the grave, they found a startling surprise: there was a living newborn baby next to Nambothu's body. Although days had passed since her burial, the child was alive. It was inexplicable. How could a child be born after his mother died and was buried? The child was taken to the hospital immediately, where he received the necessary care. After numerous investigations, doctors explained that there is a rare condition known as a birth after death, in which the expulsion of the fetus from the uterus of the deceased mother may occur as a result of the process of decomposition of the body and the pressure of the formed gases. This phenomenon, although rare, is scientifically known and has occurred in similar cases throughout history. The child, who was named Njiso, meaning miracle in the tribe's language, became a symbol of hope and faith in his village. The Nambu family adopted him and cared for him with love and care. Ngeso's story has been told for generations, a reminder of the strength of life and the will to survive even in the darkest of circumstances. In conclusion, we know that life sometimes has events in store for us that the human mind cannot easily explain, and stories like Ngeso's remain a reminder that nature always has unexpected surprises. On October 14, 1987, 18-month-old Jessica McClure was playing in her aunt's yard in Midland, Texas. While her mother was momentarily preoccupied, Jessica fell into a narrow well about 20 centimeters in diameter and 6.7 meters deep. When her mother found out it happened, I quickly called emergency services. Firefighters, police and rescue workers gathered around the well, but realizing the difficulty of the task made everyone fear for Jessica's life. The well was extremely narrow, making salvaging it complex and requiring careful planning. Rescue teams began digging a well parallel to the one Jessica fell into, with a plan to dig a horizontal tunnel to reach her. Rescue teams used heavy drilling equipment and pipes to ensure the safety of the operation, as the technical difficulties were enormous. For 58 long hours, the teams worked non-stop, while everyone hoped for good news. The media quickly rushed to the scene, and Jessica's story spread across the country and the world. Millions of people watched the live coverage of the rescue operation on television, and their hearts were waiting for the results of the continued attempts to save the girl. After more than 2 days of continuous work, rescuers were finally able to reach Jessica and pull her out of the well. She had some cuts and bruises, but she was alive. She was quickly transferred to the hospital to receive the necessary treatment. Jessica became a symbol of hope and courage, and her rescue sparked global sympathy. Her parents have received great support from people around the world. When Jessica grew up, she lived a relatively ordinary life, but her story remained engraved in the memories of many as one of the most famous rescue operations in history. On October 13, 1972, a Uruguayan Air Force plane carrying a rugby team and a number of their friends and family members was en route to Chile. During the flight, the plane encountered adverse weather conditions and navigation errors, which led to it crashing in the heart of the remote, snow-covered Andes. Of the 45 people on board, 33 survived the initial crash. The survivors were in shock, surrounded by heavy snow and freezing temperatures. They quickly realized that their chances of being saved were slim in this harsh environment, especially with the lack of food and water. As the days passed, the survivors were forced to face their harsh reality. Food supplies were quickly running out, and with food scarce in these harsh conditions, they made an agonizing decision to survive: eat the flesh of their deceased comrades. This difficult decision helped them survive the harsh conditions until they could find a way to survive. 10 days after the crash, a number of survivors died from injuries and extreme cold. When 16 days had passed, the survivors heard over a portable radio that official search efforts had stopped. This news was devastating, but they did not give up hope. 2 survivors, Nando Paradu and Roberto Canessa, decided to try to reach help on foot. Over the course of 10 days, Nando and Roberto made their way through the mountains, overcoming rugged terrain, bitter cold and hunger. Their journey was full of dangers and hardships, but they were determined to find help and save their remaining friends. On December 20, 1972, 72 days after the crash, Nando and Roberto reached a valley and locals in Chile, where they were able to call for help. A short time later, rescue teams were sent to the crash site, and 14 survivors were rescued from the plane. The story of the Andean survivors has become a symbol of human resilience and will. Survivors wrote a book about their experience, and a film called Alive was produced telling their story. This story remains one of the most influential and inspiring stories in the history of aircraft accidents, and reminds us of the strength of the human spirit in the face of the most difficult challenges. If you liked stories, do not forget to support us by pressing the like button and subscribing to the channel to receive all new updates. Don't forget to share the video with your friends. Thank you. Bye.